hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to another episode of the Indigo Womb Wisdom Podcast. I'm your host and sister friend, Shatia T. Owsley, and thank you for watching and or listening. So sit back, grab some tea and a notebook, and let's vibe together as we have organic and practical conversations embracing intuitive womb wisdom, spirituality, and a sprinkle of magic to rebel, restore, and radiate overall wellness in our lives. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Indigo Womb Wisdom Podcast. I am your host and your sister friend, Shatia T. Owsley, and today I would like to introduce our beautiful guest, Dawn Shay Matthew. Dawn is a devoted healer, a storyteller, an experienced registered yoga teacher, sound healer, yoga therapy apprentice, a doula, and a herbalist. With over 15 years of experience in the holistic wellness space, her work is rooted in the belief that healing is both sacred and communal. Her approach blends ancient wisdom with modern understanding, weaving together movement, breath work, plant medicine, and a compassionate care to support emotional, physical, and spiritual restoration. Dawn's intention is always the same: to honor the wholeness within every woman and to help her rediscover her quiet strength, her joy, and her divine becoming. I'm so happy that you are here today with me. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I read your bio,
Mhm,
but how did you
mhm.
get started on this journey of wellness and healing?
Um, I would say I got started pretty young. I've always had my dad was a health nut, so that aspect of it was there. And I was always outside picking something up and eating it and hoping I wouldn't die or get sick. Thankfully, neither of those things happened. And I say about 19 is whenever I was, attending my first birth, so, like, kind of doula work and care. I was a doula before I even knew what a doula was.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And I was operating in this space, helping women, postpartum and just I was a part of a military community at that time, and so there were so many women having babies. It's like it was going out of style, honey. So what is this? I was young. I didn't want no kids. But I was like, I just loved the way that I saw my grandmothers and my aunts always come together and take care of other women. And I was like, there's people need this. And girl, I was just doing it. I was coming in, cooking meals, kissing the babies, picking them up, not really kissing them because shit, I'm kissing all your babies. But that's what I would say. I shake hands and kiss babies. But I was doing all of the things. And about 10 years ago, actually, I attended my first yoga class and I was like, oh, they might be onto something. And so, just started pursuing yoga from there.
I love that. Yoga can be so broad. There's so many different styles of yoga.
Mhm,
And
mhm,
so I know we've read in your bio, you focus on restorative
mm,
yoga. What is
mhm.
restorative yoga?
I had liken restorative yoga to be like a more supported yin. And what yin yoga is like deep stretching, a meditative practice. So you are holding poses for a longer amount of time. It's generally you're on the mat, you're on the floor, so you're not like standing and in a dancing Shiva. You like, girl, get me up out of this. Now you probably are saying, girl, get me up out of this, but I'm just gonna keep walking around while we doing these hip openers because we got to get them right. You know.
Yeah.
So, I would say Hatha yoga is probably my favorite class to teach. It's because it's a super traditional form of yoga. It's very grounding, and I feel like Hatha just it gives you what you need. It really it at least for me, it feeds me quite well. Mhm.
Who would best benefit from restorative yoga?
Everyone. Your hips are probably tight. You have some stress in your shoulders. You have some irritation and some agitation due to stress in your gut. Your lower back, you have sciatica, you know, and all of this, even if you don't have any of it, is preventative. And we all know prevention is better than cure. Okay. And so that's something I love about restorative yoga and yoga, period. People a lot of times feel like I'm not flexible. I can't do yoga. Well, girl, what you think is going to get you flexible? Could you tell me? I'm confused. That's like saying, oh, I don't go to the gym because I'm not strong. What is you talking about? Like, so when people tell me that, I always say yoga meets you right where you're at. It's truly a practice that meets you right where you're at, mind, body, soul, not just your body. Because you meet people that are physically flexible, but are very limited in their thinking and in their mind and in their capacity. I tell people all you have to do is meet yourself where you're at. I'm just here as a usher and a facilitator. And I offer suggestions. I always say, this is your world. It's your practice. So I'm going to give you a suggestion based off of what I see, what I feel. And because I always tell, I have a plan for class and I see people walking in. I said, that ain't going to work today. It's not going to work. We have to do something else. So I'm here operating, like I say, as a usher and essentially like a servant leader, helping you find your way back. I'm just facilitating a safe space because you're going to want anyway.
So, through the process of restorative yoga, what have you seen? How have you seen your clients benefit, especially those who are new to yoga or new
Hmm.
to restorative yoga?
Have seen, we're doing a split series right now. I didn't tell them that before. I never tell them that before. I never tell you what we doing for real till we get about halfway there, and then you're like, okay, well now I believe I can do it. Um, so physically, I've seen people um, become more physically flexible. They've become stronger, more balanced in their bodies. We do a lot of core, but more than that, I have seen um, this transformation of them spiritually and how they are able to show up and practice presence, practice focus, practice self regulation. Those are some of the biggest transformations. And I think that's because in our physical practice, which is the asanas, I tell people yoga is like poetry. It's one thing after the next. That's whenever you go to a good class, at least for me. I'm like, wow, all this, even if I wouldn't have thought of it, I'm here, that I'm here, that I'm here. And my body is in communion and in communication with itself. And my soul is in communion with my body, and my body is in communion with my mind, and everything is just all making sense. And so offering that and then reminding people, you can take this and apply it elsewhere. Apply this communion amongst yourself in a different way, in a different light. Apply this grace, just like sometimes if we're doing anything in balance, say we're in a half moon or a warrior three, and I see people get to falling all over the place, or they're scared to fall. How I'm talking to y'all is how I talk to them, okay? I say, what did your mama tell you when you fell? Get up. Just fall and make sure that you're safe. Just fall safely. If you're going to fall, that's part of life. What are you going to do? You're just not going to get into that half moon. Now, if you can't, this is my thing, if you can't and you want to, that's fine. Let's lay where we're at. But if you can't and you don't want to, then perhaps you should explore that. This
Mm.
is where we activate like our discipline. I don't want to, but I know I need to because I'm going to get something out of it. And a lot of times all people need is to be affirmed. Is something that I've learned as a teacher and a facilitator is I see folks wobbling and feeling like, hey, come on back down the mountain and let's take a few grounding breaths. We're going to get back up into this because we know that if we fall, we can always get back up. None of these postures are greater than you. None of them. Not one, but you need to breathe. You need to know that it's okay to fall and to get back up. So these are lessons that you confront in your physical practice, and then you're reminded of them as you are navigating your practice in life.
Can you dive in a little bit deeper as far as what people have experienced or what they have told you by attending your classes from a spiritual perspective?
A few things. So I've had people come and tell me they're feeling things in their body. Um, Dawn, after practice and we meditated, I just felt things here. It wasn't pain, but it felt like pressure. What could that be? I said, well, what are you carrying? Now we're breaking down. I just asked the question, and that's because it's like, but seriously, because yeah, all this, "Oh, yeah, we did a little heart openers. We had you, kind of you were in that lizard pose for quite a while, and you got to opening up and realizing and reflecting what are you carrying, and how are you talking to yourself while you're carrying that?" I've got really beautiful feedback about this one particular class where I was like, "We're not doing this." Like, I was like, "No, absolutely not." And that was whenever I was like, "It's okay to fall." Said, "Everybody doing all this and that, just fall and get it out the way, because then you know that you can get back up." That's why, they put us on them bikes with no training wheels, and they let us go for a little bit, then they let us go, and hey, just get it out the way, because once you fall, you're not afraid of it no more.
Mhm,
Now you know
mhm.
it's okay, scraping my knee isn't that bad, like, the world is not going to end, okay? I don't want you to scrape your knee in my class, don't come in there doing that. Fall safely, or don't get up there at all. But, those things they have seen, and just kind of helped to fortify their practice of meditation, which is, a focused practice, outwardly focused practice, letting go. Sometimes you can meditate on something, sometimes, transcend and to chill and to release and all of those things and to reset and restore.
How do you integrate restorative yoga or hatha yoga into your doula work?
Well, some of my clients, I meet them where they're in their practice, and some people will tell me, like, "That's too much." And I get it. I'm neurodivergent, so it's too much for you, but it's just right for me.
Yes.
It
Yeah.
makes sense. What you mean?
Yes.
A
Right.
doula that's also a yogi, that also knows about herbal medicine and sound health. Don't
Mhm.
that make sense?
Mhm.
That has been a great way to just support my clients. And a lot of times with prenatal, and I'm of the old school, don't be lifting up your arms and doing things like that. So if we do any type of, a lot of times it'll be like a yin or a restorative. You're going to lay down. You can do some of these hip openers. You can lay down. We can do legs up the wall. You might even do a little supportive fish, but sit down somewhere. That's about all we finna do.
And rest.
Yeah, exactly. The legs up the wall is all the inversion that you need. You be picking your arms up and putting them down on my watch. Now, granted, I did it when I was pregnant, but I'm different. I don't need you doing it. I don't need you. I ain't trying to get in trouble.
Oh my goodness. So let's talk a little bit about you are currently doing an herbalism series on
Mhm.
TikTok,
Yeah.
and I am thoroughly enjoying it.
Thank you.
Especially now because the seasons are changing. And
Mhm.
so I know your dad was really into holistic wellness and health, and you were outside just eating flowers and all
I
types of
was,
stuff.
girl.
But let's talk a little bit about your journey into herbalism, and then we'll a little bit deeper into some of your favorite herbs and what they do.
Okay. My journey to herbalism, I think, began at a very young age. Like I said, I know my mom will be looking at me like my poor child out there talking to the tree and the grass and everything else, but she was always supportive and never made me feel strange. But like I said, I was out there like figuring out what things were, hadn't been told it, and it's because I would pray. I would take my shoes off and I would stand in my backyard. I remember very, very vividly just looking out and praying. And I would lay in the grass, my arms stretched out like an angel. I would just be praying. And I was just in communion with God, in communion with nature. And I really believe that's why I never ate anything that was poisonous, because whenever I would come in there, for instance, I found honeysuckles. My parents showed me what no honeysuckle was. I was probably about 4 years old. Yeah, probably about 4, and I smelled it. I had just got done laying in the grass praying. I got up and I smelled my neighbor's honeysuckle, and I looked around, made sure nobody was gonna see me. Me and the Lord was talking. The Lord told me it was safe to eat. I tasted it, it was sweet, and I took some in the house, and I said, "Mom, you can eat these." She's like, "Those are honeysuckles." "How did you know that?" The Lord told me, and, she was like, "Okay." Make sure it is a little talking to my child. I was very fascinated by dandelions, and everybody kept saying there were weeds, there was weeds. I was probably like 6 or 7 years old, and I read this quote by, um, Dr. George Washington Carver, and he said, "A weed is just a flower growing in the wrong garden." And, that really stuck with me, and I was like so now that's always been I've never looked at a weed as a weed, except for ragweed, she can go, but because of those things, I was like, "Oh, wow." So, as I got older, like I said, I wanna say around the time that I really started practicing yoga is whenever I really started to deep dive into herbs. I kinda had a very general knowledge of it. Uh, that was about 10 years ago, 11 years ago when I first moved to Germany. I had a little, garden in my apartment. I would cut the top off of a water bottle, and I was growing mint, and then I was growing cilantro. So it was my windowsill garden, and I started to experiment with making infused waters, and then we've always been big tea drinkers. We're Texans. Hot tea, cold tea is tea in the house
Mhm.
at all times. And so I got into experimenting with fusions, and then I started to kind of read and follow different pages. I became very curious about herbalism and gardening. I started a urban garden for a church, and it just kind of expanded. I was just all on line learning. Mhm.
What was your path for you to choose an herbalism school? For those who may be interested in,
Yeah.
where do I go? How do I
Mhm.
start?
I started making hair products, natural hair, but that was when the natural hair movement was super big. That was in like 2014. And I was doing hair treatments. I'm a beauty school dropout, y'all. So I was
Okay.
doing hair treatments for Black women in Germany, where I was. If you want to learn formally, or how I came to the program, the first program that I was a part of, so I'm gonna do an honorable mention here with Akila. She is the owner of Kissed by a Bee Organics, amazing products. And so I connected with her because I had opened a haberdashery. Haberdashery. She like, girl, you out here doing stuff. Telling you. I'm telling you. So haberdashery is just like a store that has different little, kind of items, not super niche. It was like gonna be like a
Okay.
gentleman's haberdashery because I had a plug, with the gentleman's clothes, So I was like,
Right.
why not? And I had a gentleman who was gonna cut hair, so I was like, what? Wouldn't that be dope to have a gentleman's haberdashery here? You know. So I wanted some of her products in the shop. She sent me samples. We kept in touch, and I saw that I think she's like a third or a fourth generational herbalist, and she recommended the program Chestnut School of Herbal Medicine, and I'm like, well, if a third or fourth generation herbalist, if it's good enough for her, it's good enough for me. Just full disclosure, I generally, I'm like, let me watch you for a little bit. Let me see what you about. I saw that they offered scholarships to Black women and to women of color. And I was like, okay, that's cute. Now, this was before all the other stuff, happened because a lot of people started offering that in 2020,
Mhm. Mhm.
which is cool. But I like to know that I'm associated with people that actually care and that care for the sake of caring, not caring because somebody done twisted your arm.
Right. Right.
So that's what matters to me. And so I saw that they gave away such great information at no cost. And I'm like, okay, so they do things for Black women, women of color, or people of color, excuse me, Black people and people of color. And then you guys are giving away valuable information for free, like giving away free game. I feel like if you're gonna be an OG, you have to be willing to do that.
Mhm.
There is no such thing as an OG that never gave away no free game. Not to say your game needs to be free all the time. You need
Mhm.
to make sure that we can sustain ourselves. But if it's no free game involved, how do I know it's valuable? How do I know you
Mhm.
care? And
Mhm.
so, like I say, these are things that matter to me. And I saw that they were doing all of those things. They were active, they were involved, they were extremely knowledgeable. They proceeded with caution. So I was doing like a lot of the little free stuff because I was like, okay, well, I think I'll apply for a scholarship one day whenever I get time. Now, why I decided to do that after I had a baby is crazy. But, go off. So I applied for a scholarship. I got the scholarship for their first program. It was like herbal medicine making course. I completed that. I wanted to show them like, hey, you picked the right girl. I completed that in like 3 or 4 months. It was amazing. It was so, so, so thorough. They honor Black and Indigenous medicine globally. It's such a
Mm.
thorough program. I'm always talking about them. Very, very in tune. Just man, it was just great. And so I then was like, "Hey, girl, well, since y'all got any more of them scholarships for the next level up, give me some." And they sure did. And so that program, and that one is the herbal immersion program. That's 1,000 hours. And so it was excellent. It was just great. And I also did a course with Heart of Herbs. It was an 800-hour clinical herbalism program. Hers is really great too, super thorough. So two really great programs. Like I say, I have to lurk on people first. I have to make sure that it's, of the and then one of my good friends who is also a herbalist, she's a registered nurse as well. She went through the Heart of Herbs program. And so I was like, "Girl, hey, who who all gonna be there? Let's make sure that, can't have just any old rapscallion in your program." And like, I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sleepy. A little extra silly today. But yeah.
Yeah. We are recording this episode at night. So, Dom, going into the winter time, what are your top 5 herbs for winter wellness
Mhm.
and health?
Top 5. Clove, she's going to get you right every time. Let me start this off by saying this is not medical advice. I'm a herbalist. And these herbs may not be for you. I won't know that until you give me a call and we do
Mhm.
that intake and we talk. So please don't be talking about I drank all this stuff and now my stomach hurt and I'm finna talk bad about Dawn. Because, normally I block people, but I might have to say something back to you if you do that. Now, that said, clove is a really great herb because it has warming properties. It's antibacterial, antimicrobial, anti-inflammatory, all of the antis. In the wintertime, it's obviously we're colder generally, depending on where you live. It's colder. We want to bring some warmth to the body. That coldness can also increase the dampness. So those coughs, the wet coughs, the mucus, the phlegm, excuse me, clove helps to dry all that up. Clove is also really great to brush your teeth with. If you want to make rinses, you could just make a good strong clove tea. You could put, I say, use about 10 ounces, 10 to 16 ounces of water, and do you a palm full of, how many cloves is that? This is how I measure stuff, y'all. Because like I told you, I be talking to the Lord. I'll measure things whenever I know I need to, like, okay, I need to be
Mhm.
recording, but when it's stuff at the house, I be, okay, this is what the Lord told me to do. So I say about 8 cloves and about 10 to 16 ounces of water. Cover it though. Boil it on high. Soon as the water gets dark, take it off the boil, let it sit and steep for as long as you want, really. For, you can do it for a few hours even. Strain it. And then, baby, it's not going to be no morning breath.
Mm.
It's not. Your teeth are going to feel, your gums are going to feel so good. It has, the qualities. Like if you have a toothache, you can put oil on it or clove powder or chew on a clove and it'll help to numb it. So super great. As you see, clove is like I have clove just about every day. Ginger, something that also brings warmth to the body, aids in digestion, anti-inflammation. And I'm going to be naming things that are pretty accessible, number one, and people are pretty familiar with them, okay? Because people been doing dangerous things.
Yes.
Y'all not gonna be playing on my time. I don't have to fuss at nobody. Because when I get to fussing, I cuss, okay? I don't want to be doing y'all like that. Ginger, and what's beautiful about ginger root is if you grow it at home in containers or in your home, you can use the stems. The stems are so great for even to add to your clove mouth rinse, or for tea, you can just steep the leaves and the stems of your ginger root, and it makes for a beautiful tea, especially for people that are kind of, like, sensitive. Ginger is naturally spicy, so if you have quite a bit of it and you're not used to that or you don't like spice, I would say the ginger leaves are really great. Um, what's another one? I'm gonna do another one with cinnamon. Anything that you can think of works good in a pie. That's what I tell people. If you come to a workshop, free game. If it tastes good in your grandmama's pie, it's probably gonna be something good in a tea.
Mhm.
And what's great is, we did a simmer pot on one of my lives last month, I wanna say, and so we had
Mhm.
all of these and then some, and that's because, 1, it smells divine, so we know that we're
Mhm.
dealing with a lot of seasonal depression. This is why tea is so magical. Tea is so medicinal, not just because of how we ingest it orally, but how we ingest it and absorb it as we experience the art of tea in and of itself. So with the simmer pot, we have that cinnamon, we have the clove, we have the ginger root, we have peppercorns, and all of these things that bring warmth to the body, but it lifts our mood when we smell it. We feel comforted and supported and grounded. That's what cinnamon does. Cinnamon also opens you up. Cinnamon bark is what I would suggest people kind of lean more into. Let's play with the 3, and we'll come
Yes,
back
with
with 2
3.
later. Because I gotta keep my eye on, I'm learning the audience. I've been seeing people end up sick because they
We
misusing
don't want
herbs and everything. We don't want that.
no, no. So what are some of the properties of cinnamon? I can just smell a cinnamon stick all day.
Very similar to clove.
Okay.
Which is why I love them together because they complement each other so well. So, anti-inflammatory, it helps with your teeth. There are some people, you can chew on the cinnamon bark. It's really great for your teeth. The heating element, it's not like as astringent as like you would say a clove is, but it's still
Okay.
going to work in a similar way, which is why they work really great to support each other, and it's where it's not too much
Mhm.
because I feel that cinnamon softens it out a bit. It also helps to increase your blood flow.
Would you prepare it the same way that you're preparing the cloves as well, which is
Yes.
just to create an infusion?
So, because they're barks and because the ginger is a hardy root, you can boil these. And that's what
Mhm.
I would suggest people do. Especially if you're doing a larger batch. Sometimes what I will do is I'll have a mason jar, and if I know like, okay, this tea is gonna be for later, I'll put in, a piece of cinnamon bark or a clove or whatever, even my roots or my barks, and I put it in, I add whatever else, and I use my kettle and I pour that water over it, piping hot, and I seal it immediately. I give it a shake every now and again, and it's a beautiful, beautiful infusion. So it's really great that way. And then you can reuse the herbs, or those roots and barks quite a bit more because you infused it versus boiled it. And depending on how
Okay.
long the infusion was sitting.
Okay, and that was my next question. Can you use the herbs again after, and if so, how many times? Does it depend on what you're using it for?
It does. It depends on what you're using and how you're preparing it. You don't wanna boil leaves. You
Okay.
don't wanna boil most stems because 'cause they're too soft. And so, the, herb is gonna lose a lot of its properties by almost being like you're nuking it. So, you want those things like leaves, some stems, like I say, things like that where you boil the water and then you pull it off and you let it steep, or you have your kettle and then you pour it over, cover it, let it steep that way. But yeah, like I say, with barks, with roots, you can generally boil them, or turn them on a simmer, right? And even
Mhm.
with some of the leaves and the stems, you can do a simmer, but I would say,
Yeah,
the other way.
I got you. So those are your top threes. Just do what Dawn said. Dawn said, make a
Yeah.
tea. That's it.
Mhm. I said,
And
"Baby,
see
I
how
can't
you
give
like
you."
that.
Yeah.
And
Let's
make
see.
you a mouthwash.
Yes, do that. Then we'll talk in the comments. And maybe I'll
Yes.
get y'all the other 2, and let y'all not finna stress me out.
I love it. You're doing doula work, you are a yoga apprentice, and you are really helping the women that you serve to really rediscover who they are through different
Mhm,
modalities. There's not one way of being the best version of themselves. And so incorporating these different modalities gives them a rainbow of resources that they can try out. And so, what would you say for someone who is starting their healing journey?
mhm.
Where should they start?
I would say, the term shadow work, and I think a lot of people like misuse it and then mystify it, and people scared of it. It's like, girl, what did you like when you was a kid?
Mhm,
What did you want when you were a child? What things maybe were you denied? What did you have an abundance of? What was there maybe an excess of that wasn't a need? Like go back to those moments and kind of rediscovering who you are, why you are that way, and what you want and what you wanted. Because I think it's a really great place where you can start to acknowledge things, good, bad, ugly. Like, oh, okay, this is where I got that from. Or I really wanted to always pursue tennis, but they wanted me to play basketball. So I did what they wanted me to do. It's not that I don't enjoy basketball, but I'm still really curious about tennis you know? So giving yourself the permission to just explore you without judgment, without the condemnation of others, leaning into your shadow work is going to be super key. And then on the other side, I call this, you heard it here first, folks. Well, second, because I talked about it on TikTok. But I call it the scribble scrabbles. Something I suggest people do, whatever it is that you're feeling, write it down as you are feeling it. When you start kind of doing the shadow work aspect, you start doing your little scribble scrabble journaling and write it in whatever. Stop trying to write in cute handwriting whenever you journaling. This is a journal for you to get it out. You're not gonna reread this, right? And what you do is revisit every feeling that you don't like. Anything that whenever you get triggered and you think about something that's super like way far in the back, but it comes up, bring it up right now and write about it. Write about it as you felt it. Now, this, you can condemn others because ain't nobody gonna read it. You're gonna burn it after. You can say, I felt that it was X, Y, and Z's fault. I felt that this was unfair. Because what happens a lot of times when we're navigating these challenges or pain or being hurt or even harmed by people around us, oh, well, I know that they didn't mean it, but the impact crushed me. Right, their intention may not have been that, but the impact of it was this, and I'm angry about that, so write it all out. Write it out as you feel it, as it comes out, and it's all one big run-on sentence. So that way you can give your body the opportunity to really experience it along
mhm,
and in communion with the mind and in communion with the heart. I am actively processing this now. It's not one or the other. Because what happens a lot of times, it's like it's firing off and it's all these different, it was a trigger, but I didn't react in my body, but now I'm shutting down, right? When I need to
mhm.
have this full body experience of like fully releasing it. And maybe I need to cry, maybe I need to scream, and do that while you're doing it too. Cry ugly. Don't be wiping it. Don't try to, ain't nobody looking. It's you and the Lord and your pen and paper. Get it out. So I
Yeah,
think doing those things in tandem, then that way you can give the people that you are tapping in to help you usher other things in, you give them something to work with. You give yourself something to work with, number 1, but then you
mhm.
give other people something to work with, right?
I like that. And I
Yeah.
think that it's very accessible. It's not something that you have to
Mhm.
overthink.
Yes.
And I think sometimes we take journaling, it has to be grammatically correct. It has to be with a pretty journal and a pretty pen, and it has to have pictures and all of
Yes.
that stuff. And you stop the process of your healing because
Mhm.
you're so focused on the things that really don't matter.
100%. And even with that said, for instance, y'all, I collect journals and ink pens. I have this obsession with them. There are some that I've had for literally 10 years. I've never written anything in them except for my name. And I don't want anybody else judging me or writing in them. So and then there are journals that I have where I write certain things or journals that I have. That's why I get y'all the Scribble Scrabble journal. Okay. where that's all you do. Because all the other things, the super curated and manicured, we need that too, because we
Mhm.
want that. Put that where it
Mhm.
goes, though. This is your first assignment in learning where to put things where they go. With the scribble scrabbles, if you want it to be a pretty journal, that's fine, but if you got a steno notebook that you ain't used since grade school and it still got some pages, do it in that, okay? I think we are in a very capitalistic country and dealing with a lot of capitalistic horse crap, and
Mhm.
we see a lot of consumerism, and it's just like, "Girl, use what you have. Let this be your second assignment. Now, first you're learning to put things where they supposed to go. And the next assignment is utilizing being a good steward of what you already have. We don't have to get on here and buy another cute journal. If y'all want some cute journals, I'll design some. It'll say Scribble Scrabble Journal, a place for
Yes.
your name. It ain't gonna have no prompts. But since you just gotta spend some money and you just
Right.
gotta have something cute, that's what we gonna call it.
Before we start to close out, is there anything else that you would love to share with our audience today? What is on your heart that you feel like the collective needs to know?
Hmm. I think that, when we were talking earlier about, showing up and that being half the battle, presence, practicing the art of being present and understanding that life is always going to life. Like you cannot afford to be too far ahead and you can't afford to be too far behind. Because
Mhm.
what has happened and what will happen, the only way you're really gonna impact that or can impact it is being present right now and taking care of your present self and honoring your present self. And, it's a lot going on, but remain present in your body, in your experience, in your truth. And, what needs to be revealed to you will be revealed.
So how do we love on you? How do we support you?
Reach me on TikTok. Right. No, personally, my website is saintgoodness.com. Okay.
Oh,
I am going through everything. The contact page will always be there, but one day it may be a page up. The next day that page may look a little different, guys, because
yeah.
I'm in transition. And rebranding. Contact page is always going to be there. Be thankgoodness.com is how you can reach me via email directly. TikTok, Trill Healer. That's TRILL Healer. Because I am from Dallas, Triple D for life. Where else? I'm on Insta, and on YouTube. YouTube is Saint Goodness, and I also have a lo-fi and healing sounds YouTube page. It's Our Quiet Studio. I would love for you guys to go and check that out. Go and fall asleep to some theta waves and things like that. And IG, Gabrielle Dawn Che.
Yes. We
Mhm.
will make sure that all of Dawn's contacts information is in the description of this episode so that we can love on her and support her and press her because she already put it out there for this Scribble Scrabble journal. We waiting now.
Period. Now,
Okay.
look, another assignment.
Okay.
Amen.
Yes. And before we close, I always ask our guests one last question. And that question is with your lived experience, everything that you've been through, what you've seen, what you felt, and where you are today, if you can go back, what would you tell little Dawn?
Oh, girl, that's a good one. Do you ask everybody this?
It's my last question, and that's
This
why I
the
don't tell
last
nobody.
question. Let me see. What would I tell little Dawn? I tell myself this daily now that this is what I needed to hear is that you are so valuable and you can do everything you want to do despite who comes or goes. And you need to be focused on you because you have everything that you need. And I wish I would have just been able to give myself a hug and to really say and to feel and understand that and to stay solid in it and not to let the waves of it come and go. Because those are very challenging lessons to learn is whenever you are constantly doing and putting everybody and everything before yourself and your goals and your purpose, it's a very painful lesson to learn, and it's unnecessary, you know? Maybe it was necessary for me, so y'all don't have to do it. But yeah, that's what I would wrap my arms around me and tell me that, child.
We love you from the bottom of our heart. This was just such a great time. Thank you for spending your night with me. I
Yes,
just want to say thank you for the education. We know why yoga is important, especially restorative yoga is so important. And you are helping us on our healing journey, starting off with the things that we already have, not needing to go and purchase all of this stuff, but just starting inward, starting with us with a pen and some paper and just getting out what it is that we feel. I feel like this was awesome, and it was what we
good.
needed to close out our evening for the day. And I mean, and we had some good laughs along the way. Thank you
Of
everyone for
course.
tuning in, and we will see you in the next episode. Peace.
Peace,